Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, um, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So for the next hour, we'll be having a Q&A on SI scholarship. My name is Genius Amara Izu. I won SI scholarship many years ago. It's now history for me. And I've tried my possible best to coach people on what I know, how I understand the program. And I know that every year, every season, people have new questions. Even with the changes that the Swedish government or the Swedish Institute does, more questions arise. So in this session, we'll be having a Q&A where we'll allow anybody with a question to ask their questions to someone who is currently in Sweden and who is a recipient of the 2025 SI scholarship. I want to introduce to us Steve. I met Steve through LinkedIn in 2024. And Steve connected with me. Steve we went through a coaching session, one-on-one coaching session, and Steve won the scholarship this year. The interesting thing about Steve is that he told me he's been following me and SI since 2019. He's been following SI. He learned about SI since 2019. He followed through while he was still an undergraduate. He followed through SI scholarship program, followed through materials on YouTube and elsewhere, and finally applied in 2024, and currently he is in Sweden. So I believe Steve has a lot of answers to many questions we have, and we are happy that he offered his time to listen to our questions and provide feedback and answers. I'll be here. If you have questions that need me to, you also need my input, definitely I will. So I'll hand over the microphone. I have no microphone, but to Steve. And I want us to just go straight into Q&A. Some person sent in Q&A before now. We might have to start with that. And then we progress to open floor. If you have any question, any burning question, that is not very, very personal, a question that could be generalized, a question you think he might have an answer, and hopefully he provides an answer that will help. With that, Steve, would like you to introduce yourself again by yourself and introduce your current positionality. So, Steve, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, my name is Steve. Like you just said, I applied for the SI scholarship in 2024, between 2024 and early 2025. But prior to that, I have been following the scholarship almost religiously from December 2019. So I think a couple of studies and finding out what the scholarship was all about, which also included some very important work roles, volunteer experiences, and the likes. In 2024 October, I started my application for the university admissions, which is the first step. And then by February 2025, I made my application for the um, scholarship application, and by April, it was successful. So, yeah.
Congratulations once again. How is life in Sweden? Please tell us a little bit about life in Sweden.
You can imagine I I had no idea that it was this cold. So
So we should
I
not
had
come. We
to
should not come.
yeah I had to I brought a jacket from Nigeria, and I got here. I realized that that jacket was as good as useless because it was not built for the weather here. So I had to run around, get weather appropriate clothes that can help minimize the cold, but it's really cold all year round. Even when they say it's summer, it's still cold. So well, we're still getting adjusted, but it's very nice to be in a system that works.
Okay, thank you so much. One of the questions I have, please, if I don't get to your questions, just if you're here, kindly ask. We'll go by raising up hands, and I will just call out the name. that appears in front of me and you ask your question. You can also drop your questions in the chat and we also go serially according to the first ones that come in. So one of the questions I have, Steve, someone says, please help with tips for writing motivation letter. I already know of mentioning the problems in my home country and how the course will help. Can you provide more tips? So this is the general questions on motivational letter tips. So let's hear what you can tell this person or everyone present.
Okay. Yes. One of the first things that a lot of people have in mind when they're writing the motivation letter is a problem in your home country. But it is not just enough to identify the problem in your home country, because if we ask, okay, list problems in Nigeria today, we can make a laundry list of items. There are so many of them. But the trick of writing the motivation letter, and also you have to first understand what is being asked of you. They want you to take that problem and connect it to what you want to study, connect it to your experience, which you probably have had in the past, and at the same time provide a vision for the future after your program. And they want you to do this in just 1,000 characters, including spaces, 1,000 characters. So it's a little bit tough. But the first, once you understand the fact that you're not just being asked to name problems at random, you're being asked to find a problem that your master's program can help solve and provide an actual, because I mean, you're not talking to foolish people. They have been doing this for years. So they know when you are saying something that is out of equation. So you must show that you understand the problem and understand how the master's program you have chosen can help you solve that problem. So I'm going to give an example using my own motivation letter, for instance. There are lots of problems. When I started thinking of what to write in my motivation letter, we had problems of healthcare, we have problems of corruption and all of that. But then my field is communication. So I had to ask myself, what can I solve with communication? And also, the problem must be the solution you're providing, must be to a problem that is within the sustainable development goals on which the SI scholarship is anchored. If it is not within that framework, you are out of it. So I had to ask myself, which problem can I solve with communication? And I looked at my experience. I have done a lot of work in the nonprofit space, especially towards SDG 8, which is decent work and employment. So I had to find a way to link my experience in the nonprofit space toward that SDG to my course, how communication will help me solve the problem of youth unemployment in Nigeria. And that was the basis of it. So it's not just picking at random, you have to be precise.
Thank you very much. We have another question from the chat box. This person says they have a degree in industrial chemistry and have spent the past 2 years in the field of communication. Now they want to apply for sustainable chemistry and engineering master's program. What are their chances? And they also mentioned that they did an undergraduate internship in the field as well, in the field of sustainable chemistry, I guess.
Well, one of the things that I used to say with my friends when we were applying was that there is nothing that is not linkable if you know how to do it. The first question I'll ask is the communication in what, because communication is broad. Communication in what field? Is it just communication? There is finance communication, there is energy communication. So communication in where? If you had the good fortune of doing this communication or practicing communication in an energy company or an engineering company, then you are still in play. So what they want from you is to see how you can use the experience you have to provide a solution to the problem you've mentioned. So fortunately, you have the academic background, which is the environmental communications and good. So what I would advise you to do is take environmental communications and work with it, because it is closely related to chemistry and your engineering masters, right? You will find out when you're making your applications that you may have a lot of experiences, but there are some you have to let go of because they don't align with the story you want to tell. So think about that and try to work on it.
we have another question that was sent to me. So this question is about admissions. This person is asking, how do I decide which schools to apply to? Should it be based on the program? Should it be based on the chances of getting a scholarship? What are the criteria that they should use in choosing a school and ranking the
Okay.
school first to fourth choice?
Okay. So the first thing I would say is that all schools in Sweden are equally good. They all have incredible infrastructure, incredible teaching, and everything. But when you want to apply for admission, you shouldn't make scholarship, getting a scholarship, your main focus. And this is why I said so. Because university admission process and the people in charge of university admissions are 100% totally different from the people handling the scholarship. You have to impress the university admissions committee, many of whom are made up of lecturers and evaluators from your own department. So the process of applying for university admissions is, since you are looking for an SI scholarship, the only way SI comes in here is select courses that are SI backed. SI does not sponsor every course. So you can start by looking for courses that are sponsored by SI. They release a list every year of courses that are sponsored by SI. So you can select your courses from there. But the main process of admission, which is writing your motivation letter for the department, submitting your maybe credit scores and all of those things, is totally different from SI. And you have to take it very, very seriously, because I would, share a little anecdote of something that just happened when I arrived here. The first day of class, they had this projection on the board and they showed us the total number of persons who applied for my program. I'm doing strategic communication. And there were 633 people from all over the world who applied for that program, and they admitted only 50. So what it means is that the sports are very competitive, and they expect you to bring the same level of excellence you want to apply in your essay applications to your university admissions. It may look very easy and everything, but we saw how this year turned out. It was not very favorable for so many persons. So look at what your department is asking for. Again, I would say go to the websites. Every department has a website. Check under the website, you will see the requirements, eligibility criteria, and everything, and give them exactly what they are looking for. That's the best way to go about it.
Thank you, Steve. We have another question that says, kindly explain the process of transcript submission. I guess this person is from Nigeria, but I know that there is country-specific rules on this. But if you have
Yes.
something to share, please go ahead.
Yeah, so for transcript submission, it's your university's rules versus that of Sweden. So you have to approach your university to send your transcript either via post or via email to university admissions, verifications at uhr.se. I believe that's the email. So you ask your university to send it to that email or to send it via post to the university admissions address. So it will now depend on how well or how fast your university can be. So for me, my university was the University of Nigeria and Soka. So I made an application, I think within a week, it was in Sweden. So you have to also make the application and then follow up via email to make sure that they get it done, because that's one of the things that normally affects a lot of people. They didn't get their transcript sent on time.
Thank you so much. The next question is in line with what you addressed earlier, but I'll still ask. This person asks, must your work experience be related to your choice of field of study?
At this point, my answer to this would be an advice. I'm not speaking from a place of fact. My advice would be select something that is related to your work experience if you're applying for the SI scholarship. It is very competitive, and everybody will be putting their best foot forward. Don't bring something that might reduce your chances in some way. My advice would be, if you're going to apply for the SI scholarship, go for something that is related to your work experience. It makes it so much easier.
Okay, we have the next question from the chat is asking, can I use a volunteer experience in place for work experience?
Yes, you can. You can, but it now depends on how you put it. I made a mistake actually when I was applying for my SI scholarship. I made a mistake, and that mistake would have cost me a scholarship. I just consider myself lucky. So the mistake was I used an experience, but I did not explain it well, and I titled it in my own case as an internship, which does not count. So the rules, if you check the rules, they say they need you to have done either a full-time, a part-time, or a freelance work experience. So if you are going to come with a volunteer work experience, a work that means I'm assuming work you did for a non-profit or a non-governmental, then you must either represent it as a full-time, part-time, or freelance. Anything outside of that would not work.
Okay, that's pretty clear. I think is a good benefit for the person who asked this question. The next question is about post studies. So when you're done with your program, with the scholarship program, must you go back to your home country?
Mr. Junius, I think you're in the best position to answer. You're in the best position to answer.
So okay, if you're pushing it back to me, the motivation letter, which is the background of this question, says what how do you intend to use the success of SI to impact back your home country? So you must not, but in your motivation letter, you are expected to have an anticipated goal of impacting your community with the program. So you are going to get a master's degree program under the SDGs. Um, how will that impact your local community? Now, for that to happen, in many cases, you are required to go home to make that impact. But you're not required to go home to go live there to make the impact. So that is well understood. So you must not go back, unlike other scholarships. Like I know Chevening, you have to go back for at least 2 years. I know there are some scholarships that way, but SI doesn't require you by force to go back. But of course, you should have a goal of making impact in your local community. So that's how I think I'll answer that.
Yeah.
For myself, after finishing I stayed back in Sweden as a resident. I got a job in Sweden. I did some work in Sweden, but I was still going home running a social enterprise. I was still investing back at home. I was still fulfilling the things I mentioned in my motivation letter. So that's how it went for me. To some other person, they might decide to relocate back home to satisfy these things.
Right.
The next question I have here says, is it possible to submit my statement of result in place of degree certificate for university admission?
I don't think it's possible, at least for when I did my application. I sent an email to the department. They made it clear that they wanted my degree certificate, not my statement of result. So I think you can, just to be clear, you can also send an email to your university, to the university you want to apply to, and get their own take. But I'm from my own perspective, also from what is on the university admissions site, they want your degree certificate.
Okay. The next question we have here says, okay, many questions are coming in, so I have to go back to the place I stopped. So the next question says for work experience, do we have to get work certificates and letters from the companies we've worked with to show that we worked there? So I guess this person is asking whether they will get it from all their work experiences.
Well, here is the trick to that. You are expected to only provide proof that you have had up to 3,000 hours of work experience. You don't have to get from everywhere you've worked. For me, I have up to 5 work experiences before applying for SI, but I used only 2 because from those 2, I was able to prove that I had 3,000 hours of work experience. So in your case, I would advise you don't have to bring all the experiences you have. Pick only the relevant work experiences that can give you 3,000 hours. What I mean by relevant is related to the course you want to do and also helps in telling the story you want SI to see. So if you are trying to tell a story that you are someone who is passionate about SDG 4, pick experiences from your work experience that helps you tell that story. You don't have to pack everything.
We have another interesting question. This person is asking, what will happen if I use AI to write my motivation letter and every part of my application? Will I be disqualified, even if the ideas are mine?
Well, for this one, it's a double-edged sword because what I will tell you exactly, I will tell you from my experience, and then I would maybe give you an advice on what to do. So, from my experience, when I applied to Lund University, and I applied to Lund, Gothenburg, and also SI motivation letter, all these motivation letters, I had an idea of what I wanted to say. And then I used AI to polish it. Emphasis on polishing because I spent a lot of time doing the writing, coming up with the idea. So most times when I put it through an AI checker, it says this work is 40% AI, this work is 30%, 50% AI, and all of that. Most especially for my first choice university, which was Lund. But when the results came out, I got admitted. The same thing for SI. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and then I used AI to polish the idea to know whether it was feasible or not. But from what I'm going to say, if you are going to work now, don't use AI 100%. I'm sure that you know what you want to do. AI is more like an assistant, right? So if you have an idea of what you want to do, let AI help you arrange it. Let AI help you make sure the grammar, punctuation, vocabularies, everything checks out, not as a main dependent. I will give some kind of warning, especially for those who may want to apply to Lund University this year. If you look at your motivation letter for this year, you will see that there is a warning that you should not use any form of AI. I think on the letters of this year, they have all been updated. You should not use any form of AI. And I suspect that most universities have also done the same. So try to be sure of where your university stands first. Then for SI scholarship, they have not made any guideline or regulation, but it would be somehow, I mean, if you see a work written by AI, you would know. It would not be very smart to pack what AI has given to you and give back to SI. You should have an idea of what you want to do, polish it, and submit it and hope for the best.
Thank you so much for that advice. Just to support what Steve has said, as a scholar, we get this question a lot around generative AI. And my advice is there's always a responsible use of generative AI in content generation. And for application, when they have a warning that says no use at all, I think it's of best interest for you to avoid use. But if you can't avoid use and you think the AI allows you in organizing your thoughts, now you have to engage some a responsible use, ethical use, and that could be declaring usage. Another way could be using it for skeletal work like outlining, using it to ask the AI questions. Oh, this is what I wrote for this. What do you think is missing? The AI will tell you, oh, these are the areas of missing that are missing. Then you go back and review and rewrite your work.
Right.
AI shouldn't be for generative purposes, but it could be for skeletal structural purposes. Oh, look at what I wrote. What do you think about this based on these questions, based on this instruction? The AI will provide feedback like a review. You go back to your original work, you work more on it. And in that work, AI wasn't used to generate, but AI was used for structural purposes. So that's a responsible use that you might
Yes.
think of. And I see a question asking about examples of AI checkers. I think AI checkers are so far not accurate, so
Yeah.
there might not be need for using AI checkers. But plagiarism checkers are the things you should worry about because AI plagiarize in many cases.
Yeah.
We'll go to the next question. How do you calculate work hours? Do you take out holidays? Also, for leadership form, they got promoted last month. While filling the CV, do they combine both the time spent in their as an officer and the time spent in leadership. So this question was sent at 11:28. If you want to read it again.
Okay. Yeah. So let me try to answer the first one. Um,
How do
um,
you calculate work hours?
okay. So first thing I would say is before I tell you how to calculate work hours, I would advise that you go to the website SI at si.se, the scholarship website. Check the frequently asked questions. They gave a detailed explanation of how they want you to calculate it. But before you go to, I will tell you how I did it myself based on what they said. So 3,000 hours of work experience roughly translates to 1 year and 6 months of work, either full-time, part-time, or freelance. Now, if you want to calculate 1 year, 6 months, let's assume, because for me, I had full-time work experience. So your regular 9 to 5 is 8 hours a day. So you are going to have to do that 8 hours a day. Let's say in a year, you do it for 52 weeks, and then the remaining 2 weeks is your holiday. So I did mine by 52 weeks. The remaining 2 weeks was assumed to be a leave or some sort of a holiday. So a year gave me 1,000 hours of work experience, and the 6 months of the following year gave me the remaining. Sorry, the year gave me 1,500. The remaining 6 months gave me the same. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. A year gave me 2,000. Yeah, a year gave me 2,000. The remaining 6 months gave me 1,000. So that was 3,000 hours of work experience from one work source. It can be more, but it shouldn't be less. So if you want to calculate it, use the same formula. Like I said, if you check the frequently asked questions, which is up right now, I might paste it here before the end of this meet. You would see how to calculate that, and then you can start doing the work regarding that.
So the second part of the question says, do I combine my leadership plus my role without the leadership? They were promoted 2 months ago to a leadership role.
I would,
This is in
yeah,
filling the
yeah,
leadership
yeah, you
form,
can
yes.
combine, yes, you can combine it. But when you are filling your leadership form, leadership experience form, be sure to separate it. Yes, you can combine it because when I started work, I started as a social media manager. I worked for a month before I was made the head of comms and marketing. That head of comms and marketing is a leadership role, but it's also my work experience. So I combined it as a work experience, but I separated it as a leadership role.
So the next question we have here says, can I send my document as original PDF files or it needs to be scanned before uploading? Uh,
Your document will be, because I mean, you're filling your document. I'm assuming you're talking about the SI scholarship. You have to print them out after you fill them online and give it to your references and bosses to sign and all of that. Then you will scan it and then convert it to PDF and upload it. You will scan and convert to PDF. And our advice to please don't make the mistake of sending a doc. Send a PDF. It makes it so much easier.
So next question we're having so many questions, but let's try to go through as much as possible. The next question is, should I seek for universities like Lund and Uppsala? And I think this person is asking the question regarding in regards to reputation and competition.
Okay. Like I said earlier, in Sweden, all universities are equally good. The same quality of education you're going to get in Lund is the same you're going to get in Uppsala or KTH or wherever. Um, Regarding reputation, yeah, Lund ranks high. I think second or third or thereabout. Uppsala is the first. I don't know the ranking, but I would say this: pick based on, because the goal is to first of all get admission and then get the scholarship. Nobody wants to know whether you're going to Boras or whatever. So pick a university that will give you what you are looking for now. It's not about the reputation. The course you are looking for that you believe you want SI to grant you a scholarship for might be at University West, but University West is not close to ranking with Lund. But your goal is to get a scholarship. So it doesn't matter because the same quality of education you're going to get in Lund is the same quality of education you're going to get in University West.
That is correct because sometimes we forget how rankings are done. Rankings consider the funding of the university for specific kinds of research. It also considers the number of research the university produces. It considers certain leadership positions the university has and engages in. So all schools might not have the same capacity in terms of that, but might be specialists in your area. Even if they are not ranked the number one in the whole of Sweden or the number two in the whole of Sweden, they offer you quality education and they could be specialists on your area as well. So from anybody who is working with me regarding SI scholarship, I tell them focus on getting admission and then the rest of the focus on the scholarship rather than on in being in the best university through these rankings. We'll go over to the next question we have. So this question is about SDGs. This person is asking, um, mu- must must we try to make our work connected to two SDGs? So from the explanation, their work largely relates to SDG 4, quality education. But they are wondering if it will be an issue to only write about quality education. Should they include one or two more SDGs?
Um, from my personal experience, if you look at my documents from beginning to the end, it was SDG 8, decent work and entrepreneurship. I focused on it. I drilled down on it. I wanted everything to be SDG 8. But I have a friend. We worked on the scholarship together. She brought SDG 16. She brought in SDG 8. Based on our university coursework, there was a place where SDG 8 fell in. It was not a problem. The only thing is don't just be putting SDGs at random. I mean, you must have, you must show that you have some form of competence because again, like I said, you're not talking to people who are foolish. They have spent years doing this. So they know when someone means it and when someone is just playing around with numbers. SDGs are the Sustainable Development Goals. So you can go and read them up on the United Nations website or even on the internet. So you pick the SDG that is most closely related to the work you did or the work you've done in the past and run with it. It must not be one, it must not be two. There's no limit. Just make sure that you are able to show that you truly understand what you're doing. Because I saw an application once, someone shared with me, and it seems she just wanted to have diversity. She represented all SDGs, even where they were not necessary, from 1 to 17. So you must not do that. Just one or two can work for you.
Thank you, Steve. The next question is someone who wants to follow your footsteps. So this person is not applying this year. They want to apply the years ahead. So they're asking, can they draft all the document they need right now using the templates available? And in the next year, they can just submit.
Well, the template changes. And one of the things that would make you lose the scholarship is using a template of 2024 for 2025. That is automatic disqualification. So you can only use those templates the way I use them. I kept the one of every year to practice with. And funny enough, what the template was in 2019 is not what it is today. So you have to make sure that you are following up that the templates are changing, the questions are changing, the requirements are changing. So you have to follow up with that. What you can do is try to work with the templates because they don't change so much. Of course, they're always going to ask you about your motivation. They're always going to ask. So be practicing with it up until the year you are going to submit. But don't make the mistake of using 2024, 2025 templates when you're applying maybe 2027. That is an automatic disqualification.
Okay, the next question is about ATS check. This person is asking whether SR uses ATS to filter CVs and how can you make sure that our CV stands out in application?
Okay, so this one is very interesting because it was in 2023 that I started to think about this. There are, give or take on a random application, 9,000 people who apply for SI scholarship. It is not feasible for them to review each and every single one between February and April when they grant the scholarship. So yes, they use an ATS. And what the ATS is going to do at the beginning is to filter out those people who don't follow the first round of instructions. Those people who did not, miss the document, they use the wrong templates and all those things, the ATS will first remove them. Those people who don't have up to 3,000 hours of work experience will be removed. And then the remaining will move on to the next stage. So it's quite, I will not say it's quite easy because then it will be as if I'm speaking from a place of privilege. But I would say if you follow the instructions the way they are written on, because you find out one thing about the Swedish people, they don't just talk for talking's sake. They talk and they mean exactly what they say and they expect you to follow exactly what they say. So go to the website, look at, they have everything, every question you might ever have regarding how to beat the ATS they are going to use is right there. Hours of work experience, how to submit your document, how to get 3,000 work hours, how to make sure your name tallies with what is on your passport. All of those little details are the kind of things that can remove you. I have a friend who did an amazing work. We worked together. I mean, he did something superlative. But the only problem was that he did not have up to 3,000 hours of work experience. And it was clear that his document was not even seen. So there is an ATS to filter out people. But once you follow those little instructions, as little as they may be, it makes all the difference.
Okay, because we don't have so much time, I'm trying to go through the questions and create some summaries and bring out some questions that will make sure everyone is following up. So one of the questions is someone is asking what is SDGs? They're a bit lost. If you can give us a little background.
Yeah, the SDGs means Sustainable Development Goals. It's a set of goals that the United Nations and over 190 countries came together in 2014 to adopt we call it development indices. It replaced what was formerly MDGs. Before we had, I think between 2006, 2014, it was the Millennium Development Goals. But then we now have the SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals. So it's sort of like a benchmark for development, and every country is striving to meet those targets that the SDGs contain. So there are 17 of them, from quality education to access to healthcare to decent work and entrepreneurship. So Sweden is a major partner of the United Nations for the SDGs, and they see it as a way of trying to drive development in most developing countries. So if you are going to apply for an SI scholarship, they want to know that you have an understanding of these SDGs and how you can apply one or more of these indices to the development of your own country.
Thank you so much for that. The next question we have here is a question on age. Is there an age limit for this application?
As though for SI, there's no age limit. You can apply at whatever age. If you're 40, 50, 60, 70, you can still apply for this.
Okay. The other question, I'm trying to create a summary. Many people are asking about how to calculate work experience. Please, he has answered the question earlier on. Go to the frequently asked question on on the SI website. You will see more directions on that. Also,
Yeah, and
I'm recording this event. I will share it online for those of you who might want to rewatch.
yes, I also attached the link for those people who may want to go direct. It's in the comment section. You see the link directly to the frequently asked questions.
So, another question we have here is still related to how to prove leadership role. So this person is asking, how about if the boss is not in the country in the moment of application? How do they prove the leadership role?
Well, I mean, you don't have to physically go to your boss to do it for you. That is why you can send it to them. They will fill it and print it out and scan it. So one of the places I worked, my boss was not. I lived in Lagos, so my boss didn't live in Lagos. He lived in Abuja. So it was somehow to get on boss and start going to Abuja for him to just sign. So what we did was I told him about what I was applying for. I walked him through the, I explained to him, and he filled the questions online. He printed it out there, signed it, and then scanned it back to me. So it was that scan that I printed out and uploaded. Most times you may go to your boss and your boss will say, "Oh, I don't have time. Write it and bring it for me to sign," that sort of thing. So just talk to your boss first of all, and you guys can work out a way to do it. I don't think it's so much of an issue, especially in this very digital age.
Okay. We have so many questions that are regards to people's individual challenges. So I will try to create some clarity with these questions. So the first question here is okay, one of the question is about stamping. This person is asking, can I get all my referees to sign and stamp right now, this year, even though I'm submitting it next year? And the dates wouldn't be the same.
Yes, you can get your, especially on the new template if it has been released. You can, I think the main reason why SI provides all these forms ahead of time is so that you can start preparing, start filling and everything, because 2 weeks is too short a time to do that. So yes, you can get your bosses to do that for you at this time.
So another question is about editing the forms. So this person is asking whether they can use the Adobe PDF file processor to fill up the CV form. And they're asking, some of the parts says stuff like, quotes, if you had had a leadership role briefly described, they're asking, can they delete such instructions?
Well, first of all, let me start with the tools. I used WPS because I found it to be more friendly for the work I wanted to do. So I used WPS. Now for the documents itself, you are going to delete some of those instructions. So, for instance, on my CV, um, brief description of organization, I didn't delete it because, of course, that should be there. SDG most related, you don't have to delete those ones. But where they said, please describe it, all those ones, you have to get rid of them. I think one of the things that helped me when I was doing this particular part is the video that Genius made sometime, I think that was 2023 or 2024. So he made a video and detailed how to fill I think it's on still on your YouTube page, Genius. So you can go to his YouTube page, Amaris Genius on YouTube, and you would see it. It's everything. That was how I filled it. Exactly. Because I was confused too about the instructions. So I just had to look at those things.
Yeah, there are some, like you mentioned, there are some instructions that this is unnecessary. They don't say anything to the person grading or to the software that will assess your eligibility. But there are some other instructions that speak directly to your answer. So you shouldn't remove those ones. But you can go to watch the videos. It's still the same style, it's still the same strategy. Not that if you don't do it exactly, it will greatly affect you, but it's always good to play safe. Yeah, another question here is about how to list their job roles in the CV. So this person is asking, can I indicate that I received a promotion within the same job by listing the organization twice? Or do I list it as one job? Do I list organization one and then I write my role? I was promoted to, for your case, you were promoted to the manager. Did you list the same company twice or did you just do it once?
Yeah. So for this one, I would say you can list the company twice. So I know my experience. I used my most recent experience as head of comms and marketing. But before that, I was a marketing comms specialist in an agency called Trimal Group. Before I became marketing comms specialist in Trimal Group, I was an intern. So those are two experiences in the same company. So I put my communications internship role there as one experience. And then I put my marketing communication specialist role in the same term as my second experience. And then I put my third experience, which was the most recent one I had before I left. So these are three experiences, two of which are in the same company. It doesn't matter.
I think we'll have to stop here. The our plan was to just get 45 minutes of Steve's time and give us 45 minutes of interaction. We've passed that. Okay, let me take this very last one that just popped up. Hi, Steve, long shot, but I tried myself and wrote a motivation letter using 2021 question. Can I send you a mail? And the other one says, do we have to have professional work experience when applying for university internal scholarship beyond the SI?
internal university admissions require you to have the academic background, not necessarily an experience. Your experience may help maybe when you want to talk about what you will contribute to a program, but it would not necessarily be important because, like I said, the day we had our introduction, there were 633 people who applied for my course. And they told us that the way they selected the people they admitted into the program was based on grades. Thesis, how many persons had an A in their thesis? That was one of the ways they made their selection. So try as much as possible to make sure you um, place emphasis on your academic background before your professional experience, unless otherwise instructed. For the mail, if you've written your motivation letter, you can send it to me. But I'm not very active on all social media platforms. I think I've tried to also say this to some of the persons who have reached out so that it doesn't feel like I'm leaving your message hanging for days and weeks. So what you can do, I think I have a Substack account. You can send me a message there, I'll respond.
Please kindly share with us on the chat box. I've also dropped the YouTube channel where this recording will be shared and where you can also find some materials for SI. Please, if you will share this Substack with us, we will appreciate that. Thank you so much, Steve. And thank you so much, everyone who has joined this session to learn more about SI. And for those of us that are submitting application for this academic year, I wish you the best, success, and see you in Sweden.